Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Life of Logan podcast. Today we're exploring something profound yet often overlooked: shadow work. It is a transformative practice that calls us to embrace the parts of ourselves we've either buried, rejected, or just flat out ignored. In doing so, we unlock our fullest potential. So grab your tea, whatever it takes for you to get yourself settled into a moment of stillness, because on this one, it's all about diving deep into the shadows and coming out brighter. So starting off, what is shadow work? Well, the term shadow comes from the work of Swedish renowned psychiatrist Carl Jung, who described it as the unconscious part of ourselves we repress or deny. The shadow is made up of traits, emotions, and experiences we've deemed unacceptable, whether due to societal norms, family upbringing, or our own self-judgment. Shadow work is the intentional process of acknowledging, understanding, and integrating these parts of ourselves. It's not about fixing anything because you're not broken. It's about compassionately reclaiming all that you were. And shadow work, you hear about it as kind of like a buzzword in the spiritual community, but there are some spiritual benefits of shadow work. So on a spiritual level, shadow work is about wholeness. Every part of us, even the ones we're ashamed of, they hold wisdom and power. When we embrace our shadow, we cultivate authenticity by accepting who we are, flaws and all. We show up more genuinely in our relationships and in our communities. We also unlock emotional freedom. So any repressed emotions, be it anger, fear, sadness, they often manifest as anxiety, stress, or even physical illness. So facing them, it releases the grip that they have on us that we can't see that can affect us on a physical level. Also, we are able to enhance intuition and our self-awareness. And shadow work, I can attest to this, shadow work sharpens our ability to discern why we feel or act in a certain way, and we can align ourselves with basically who we are and who we're becoming, and not so much of who we were. And then shadow work helps us deepen compassion. So in recognizing my own shadow, I was able to become more empathetic towards others, definitely more understanding that everyone has struggles in navigating, something that we know because we go through our own things, but because we live such a silo life, we don't really think about that until we start digging into the shadow. And there are some archetypes that I guess you can apply to the quote unquote real world, I guess you could say. So one example is the overachiever. So let's say you're someone who thrives on being productive. Success feels like your identity, but underneath that, you might fear failure or being seen as not enough. And shadow work is inviting you to confront that fear head on and ask yourself, why do I feel the need to prove my worth to people? And then also asking yourself, how does this drive for success affect my relationships and well-being? And then by embracing the fear and self-doubt, you might realize that your worth was never tied to any of your achievements. It's inherent. And then you're able to create a space for rest, play, and vulnerability, all of which they will only enrich your life, y'all. And then we have I always say the dreaded, but the nice person persona. So are you the friend or family member who's always kind and accommodating? While this seems virtuous, it might mask a fear of conflict or rejection. Shadow work might reveal suppressed anger or resentment from always prioritizing others over yourself. And that's where an exercise like journaling or meditation comes into play. And then you can ask yourself during that time, where in my life do I feel unseen or unappreciated? And then how can I express my needs without feeling guilt? And you'll see by reclaiming your ability to set boundaries, which is super important in life, and express authentic emotions, you honor both yourself and your relationships. Then we have the judgmental mindset. So, do you find yourself criticizing others for traits like laziness, arrogance, selfishness, anything that kind of causes you to turn up a little bit when it comes to a person or whatever? It's just like, why do they act like that? And often what we judge in others reflects parts of ourselves that we disown. And in shadow work, you're able to ask yourself, when have I exhibited these traits, even in small ways? And then what scares me about owning these traits? And this practice doesn't excuse harmful behavior, not at all, from you or any other person, but it softens the harsh and inner critic that builds, and it builds self-acceptance. So here are some practical steps that you can take for shadow work. Number one, creating a safe space. Shadow work requires emotional safety. Find a quiet moment to journal, meditate, or work with a life coach, mentor, therapist, whatever have you. 2, start with self-inquiry. And you can ask yourself things like, what qualities in others trigger me and why? What emotions do I avoid and what might they be trying to teach me? 3, you practice non-judgmental mindset. So when you uncover something uncomfortable, anger, jealousy, shame, whatever have you, don't judge yourself. Instead, view it as a messenger. And again, asking yourself, why do I feel this way? 4, integrating your shadow. Integration doesn't mean you become perfect because perfect doesn't exist. It means you acknowledge and accept all parts of yourself, bringing them into the light. And number 5, expressing your shadow creatively. So be it art, sing, dance, write poetry, maybe do some YouTube content. You're speaking your truth aloud, and then you can help. It can help you process and release repressed feelings. So with that being said, y'all, just to close everything out and put it more simple, shadow work isn't easy. It's not easy. Like, you gonna feel that. It requires courage to face what we've hidden, but as we embrace our shadows, we discover a richer, more authentic version of ourselves. The world doesn't need a perfect you. It needs the whole you. Radiate that. Thank you for joining me today. If this episode resonated with you, I'd love for you to reflect on what aspect of your shadow you're ready to explore. Share your thoughts with me, lifeofloganpod@gmail.com. That is lifeofloganpod@gmail.com. Or, just drop me a heart in the comment section. Let me know that you're rocking with me. Let's grow together. Until next time, remember, even in the shadows, there's light waiting to be found.